Hello, I am Kitty and this is a video on how to sew the crocodile. So firstly, included in your kit is a sampler, and this is to teach you all the 6 stitches that you need in this piece. This is what it looks like completed. The samplers, you might get a different colour than this or a different thread because I just used my offcuts to make them. But the 6 stitches you need are backstitch, whipped backstitch, chain stitch, lazy daisy stitch, satin stitch and French knots. I've made another video on how to do all of these 6 stitches in detail, and that video also goes through how to start your piece, how to end your piece, how to tie a knot, all that kind of thing. So if you don't know any of these stitches, maybe go back and watch that video and then come back. There are also 2 needles attached to your sampler, one small for the more delicate stitches and one big. A 6-inch embroidery hoop here, a needle threader, again instructions for how to use this are in the other video. There is a cheat sheet which has some tips and tricks here. On the back it's got the design with all the stitches on all the parts, so you don't have to keep going back and watching this video. And you also have a key, and corresponding to that key are your bobbins of thread. And you will also get one extra bobbin of thread which says tester on it. That's to do your sampler with. Don't do the sampler with any of these, otherwise you won't have enough thread to do your piece. And you will also get your pattern, which is printed on linen. So that is everything. You will also need some scissors. Any scissors will do. These are not embroidery scissors, but you can obviously just use anything. And for this video I am using an embroidery stand. You really don't have to use one of these, they're just handy for videos because you can use both your hands, but if you want one they're super cheap to get. So for most of the kits there is no correct place to start, but for this one, the crocodile, because there are some overlapping elements, just when you're doing the body I would recommend that you do the steps in the order that I'm doing them in. So I am going to start with the whipped backstitch, which is this sort of strong outline here, which I use for the outline of the crocodile here, outline of his legs, his belly, and for these twisted lines here of these little spirals. So the first thing you want to do is to secure your fabric in your hoop. So you get the one with no little metal bit, put it in the bottom, and you want it quite tight. You can tighten it with that thing there. And I'm going to start with the outline of his crest. So it's the black, take your black thread, and for every element in this piece you want to use 3 strands. They come in strands of 6, so you have to separate them out. So I'm going to take maybe 40-50 centimeters of thread, maybe 40, cut it, and then I think there are probably better ways of doing this, but what I always do is I just tap it like that until the strands separate, and then I get 3 and 3, and then just very gently pull it like that. If you pull it too fast you'll get a knot. So tie a knot and thread your needle and you're good to go. So I'm going to start with his crest here, and you want to just start with a simple backstitch. The curves are quite small here and quite delicate, so keep your stitches quite small if you can, maybe 3 millimeters. I never know about that side of things, but just keep them quite small so you can carry on going around the curve. and so on. And once you've finished your line, so in this case all the way around the croc, you come back up where you started, so finish your thread, come back up where you started, and you want to twist your needle through the stitches that you just went through, so it will make a sort of strong, bold line. This is where the embroidery stand is tricky because you can sort of twist it when you're holding it. In fact, I will do that. The key to remember when you're doing whipped backstitch is that you always have to go in the same direction. So I'm going this way to this way. I can't now go that way to that way. Or, I mean, you could. It really wouldn't be that bad, but that's just a tip. So just keep twisting the thread all the way around. Until you've got your black line. And I will just show you quickly how to tie off your thread. Again, in the sampler video, I go into this in more detail, but when you've got to the end of the bit or you've got to the end of your thread, just do 1 or 2 small stitches like that to make a knot, and then cut. People always ask me if they have to tie off their thread, say if they were going in the same colour from this bit to another bit, and my advice would be, if the next bit that you're doing, so say if you were going from this and doing the eye and you stopped here, there's no point in tying it off. I think it's basically uses the same amount of thread. But if you're going from this bit to a bit all the way over there, then I would tie it off and start again because you're not going to have enough thread. That's my tip. So as I said, that is the black bits around there. And it's just the same principle for the green belly. The one fiddly bit are these claws. My recommendation would just be to do very small stitches and just take it very slowly. If they're too fiddly and you're just getting frustrated, just keep it as a backstitch. There's no need to go back and whip it. But those are all the single colour whip back stitches. And then for these ones, for the base of the spiral, it's exactly the same principle. But instead of going back and twisting through the threads in the same colour thread, you go through and twist it with a different colour. So in this case, you do black backstitch and then twist it through with white, and it kind of creates that spiral effect. So the next stitch I'm going to show you is the satin stitch, and this piece really uses a lot of satin stitch. So it's for these sort of green droplets here for the outside and the inside. It's for the pink dots on the inside of the stripes on the back, and for the stripes themselves, and for the kind of knobs on this spiral. So that's what takes the time in this piece. So as I mentioned before, the order here is quite important. So you do the pink dots before you do the stripes, and you do the pink dots and the stripes before you do the spine chain stitch. So starting with the pink dots, you come with your pink thread, again in 3 strands, not at the end. And these are super simple to do. Satin stitch is basically just like colouring in. So come out, I would start on the widest point of the circle of the dot. It doesn't matter really what direction you go in. If you're a real neat freak, you'll go in the same direction as the stitches for the stripe, but I don't care about that. And you just literally do 2 or 3 stitches like like that. That really doesn't have to be neat because no one will see it in the end. It's basically just a little bit of pink. It's quite hard to see the pink next to the orange, but with the green you'll be able to see it more. So just keep going round. I don't tie these off, I just go around with the pink because that would just be boring. Like that. And yeah, so you just go down the body, filling in all the dots that you can see. As the stripes get thinner, the dots get smaller. So for the ones on the tail, and actually the dots stop altogether here because it was just too small to do them. So you only do dots up to this point. So yeah, with these, sorry, the printing on this particular one is actually not very clear, but this was a tester, so on your ones they're much clearer. On the dots on the tail, so these little guys, just literally 1 or 2 very small stitches will do it. Or you can do them in a French knot. You can do either. You could just do a little French knot like that and go down, and that will make a dot, but we haven't covered French knots yet, so maybe you can make your decision then. And then for the stripes, you start off with your whichever green you're going. It doesn't really matter what green goes where as long as they alternate, and you just fill in, going from one line to another. Always go from the same side, and you just basically colour it in. Oh, sorry, I just realised that I just caught sight of my own reflection in the TV and realised that my mic wasn't on, but it is now on. Hopefully that's just fine. Anyway, so you get to the end of your stripe like that, and then skip one because that's going to be the next green, and then move on like that. I would just do all of one colour first and then go down and complete it with the turquoise colour, or vice versa. So yeah, that's basically that. And then I'll just show you quickly what you do to go around the dot. You just do exactly the same as what you were doing before. Go right up to the green stripe. Ooh. Now, if this happens, this is your most common form of knot. The key is to be really gentle and not pull at it in anger. You want to pull the loop up like that, and then pull these two things apart, and then it will just come undone, hopefully. But yeah, the key is not to get overly frustrated, which is quite difficult. For these teardrops here, you want to use very long stitch for these ones. Start in the middle and work your way out. And then for these ones, it's very short stitches. So you basically just fill in these lines here. These ones as well, it's quite self-explanatory, but it's maybe 3 or 4 stitches per knob. Again, the main thing about satin stitch is that you just shouldn't care whether or not it looks neat, because it will look neat in the end. If you look closely at this, there are many mistakes. Sorry, I forgot. The satin stitch is also used for the teeth. So for the teeth, it's literally 3 stitches each, one bigger, one smaller and one tiny, to make the teeth. Forgot to mention that. The next stitch I'm going to show you is the chain stitch, which I only use once in this piece. Has this light green spine that goes all the way down the croc. So you will have all of your stripes done, and some of them might overlap the line that's drawn, but it doesn't matter because you can just go through them, over them. I'll show you what I mean. I always like to do chain stitch so it's going away from me as opposed to coming towards me. That's just a lot more difficult. So you've got your green thread here, 3 strands, and you come up on the line, just twist it around a bit, pull it all the way through, and I always hold this. So when I'm doing chain stitch, when I'm on the sofa and I don't have an embroidery stand, I always like to keep enough thread so that I can hold it at the edge of the hoop. That way you just get a clear loop and it doesn't get tangled. So I hold it here like this, then you put your needle back through the hole that you came from, pulling it down, and then once you can see the loop here, push it up through and pull, and that's your first chain link. And then again, just down and pull through. And then you just keep going all the way down the croc. Like I said, if there's the stripes are in your way, just go over them. So the next stitch I'm going to show you is backstitch. I probably should have shown you backstitch at the beginning because it's just the easiest stitch, but there is no backstitch on the body of the crocodile apart from the eye. The backstitch here is just used for this turquoise border and the green writing. So you will all know how to do a backstitch from your whipped backstitch. Well, we'll just quickly show you how to do the writing. So people get quite nervy about the writing, but actually it's really one of the easiest bits. It's just simple back stitches, all just covering the lines, making sure the black lines are covered. When you have a straight line like this, it just needs one stitch going up. It doesn't, again, have to be super neat. It will be legible. So there you go, I think you basically get the idea. There is the croc of crocodile. So the last stitch I'm going to show you are the French knots. So the French knots are the trickiest stitch. Some people just don't like them, don't want to do them. My mum is one, she refuses. So if you don't want to do French knots, you can just do a tiny little back stitch and it will have the same effect. It will look the same. It will be much easier. You'll get less frustrated. But if you do want to use a French knot, then I'll just show you how to do it quickly. The French knots here are used for the dots on the crest and the spots on the legs. And if you wanted to do these dots in French knots, you could, like I said. But yeah, you don't have to do it. You can just do little back stitches here. Oh, and also the eye, the middle of the eye is a French knot. But again, you can just do a small back stitch. It will just look the same. So for the dots on the legs, you can see I haven't done any markings of where to do it. It's just random. So pull your needle up like that, hold it like this. This is the one stitch where an embroidery stand is quite helpful because you can use both your hands. You get this thread, wrap it around your needle once, and then you go down, not in exactly the same hole that you came up through, because then when you pull it, you'll just pull all the thread through. Go a tiny little 0.5 millimeter to the side and then pull like that. And that's your first knot. And then just basically fill up the legs Oh, see, okay. That is a good example of what not to do. Because this is a linen, it has quite a, I don't know what the word for this is. It's got the holes in the fabric aren't tiny like they would be if you were sewing on cotton or something. So it's quite easy to pull the knots through. So you have to be really gentle when you're going down to just pull gently like that. So it's a fine balance between being gentle and severe, as life is. And there you go. That is French knots. So that should have told you basically how to sew the crocodile. If you have any more questions or haven't been clear, which is very possible, then do just send me a message and I will help you. But yes, and I hope you enjoy it.